What's going on, guys? Joel from Joel Fabrications, back at it again with another video, and today we're going to be doing some fully custom titanium intakes on this X5M. Stick around because we've got a lot of tricks up our sleeves with how we're going to do these intakes, and you're not going to want to miss this one. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is start popping off some of these plastics. This is just a little rubber clip that holds this one in. Like I said, this rubber clip. These things are heartbreaking sometimes, but by a BMW, they said. So now that we got that plastic out of the way, let's jump into the next ones, which is going to be the stock intake box, air box, whatever you want to call this thing. There's a bunch of T20s. So once you got all of these off, we're going to set these aside somewhere safe. Start taking this thing off. So now that we got this off, we'll put this aside. There's one more T20 in here. This is going to help you remove these filters. Now that we got that filter removed, this whole box should come out pretty easily, but we've got some clamps that we've got to take off of these intakes. I'm also going to remove this cover up here just to make it a little bit easier to work on. A couple hose clamps here that hold on these intakes to the air box. We're also going to start taking off these mass airflow sensors. I'm just going to unplug them for now. We've got some new ones we're going to be fabricating. So now that we got that off, we start messing with this thing. Now this is also held in by clips. And the hose clamps got to come off now. There's one. There's two. And there we go. Stock air box is out of the way. So now our next step is to start actually fabricating the intake. So I've got some pieces expanded already, and I'm going to start using them just to get me going. These are the expanded pieces I was talking about. If you notice, it goes from 3-inch, it goes up a little bit bigger. So I did that specifically so when I put this in here, it doesn't go anywhere and we got something nice to clamp to. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting these cut, and we'll start fabricating our intakes. Set our pieces up in the saw. So now before we go any further, we're gonna get these all cleaned up nicely, and we're gonna put a bead roll on it. This is gonna make it easier to do now versus later when the pipe is fabricated and I don't wanna scratch anything. I'll get all this stuff out of the way now. Let's break out the bead roller. So, there's many different ways to achieve a bead roll. I've got this $80 bead roll that I got off of Amazon, and it works mint for what I need it for. Probably not the best, but gets the job done. That's all that matters, right? So let's get our piece in here. We'll tighten this off just a little bit. Now, we don't want to crank it down on the first pass. We just kind of want to lightly start getting it going. And the finished result, not bad for a little cheap bead roller. So now that we got the first one rolled, we'll get the second one rolled as well the same way. Yeah, another bead rolled piece. So now that we've got our pieces with the bead rolls installed into the intakes, See how it's a nice snug fit? What I want to do before I start fully fabricating all this out is I'm going to remove the kidney grills from the front. So these kidney grills come out pretty easy. There should be 6 tabs, usually 3 up top and 3 on the bottom. And they're pretty easy to break, so you need a little bit of finesse and patience to take these off. So the trick is to pop the tabs one by one and work your way around. There shouldn't be any kind of fighting when you're trying to remove these. If there's still some tension, it's because one of the clips still hasn't been released properly. And there we go. So we'll do the same thing on the other side and get these out of the way. So now that we got the kidney grills out of the way, we can get our intakes into here and start establishing the locations and start fabricating our intakes. So I've got the filters in there. I've got 4 90s in here, 2 per side. Right now what I'm doing is kind of just visualizing what I want to do to make this engine bay really pop. And the most important part is to have an idea of exactly what you're going to build before you actually start building it. So nothing is tacked together yet. These pieces are all loose. There's a couple things that are in my concern list right now. One is the clearance between the hood and the actual intakes when you go to close it. It's pretty close. Now the customer has given me the go ahead to cut the hood, but personally I'm going to try to do everything I can to not cut the hood. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fabricate it as close as I can, and I'll squeeze the pipes a little bit in the press if I have to, which I'd rather do that besides cutting the hood. Now, if I can't do it any other way, then unfortunately I will have to cut the hood. But I think I can get away with it without cutting the hood, so let's give it a shot. So right now what I'm doing is just securing all my angles. I'm going to mark some lines up, some pieces, and I'm going to start taping these pieces together first before I tack anything, because I don't want to tack anything and then have to break it. I have some Captain tape. It's pretty good. It holds the material pretty well. It doesn't leave any residue behind, and it's actually pretty heat resistant as well, so I can weld with that tape right on there. So I'm going to go ahead and start marking some pieces up and doing that. So as you can see so far, we've got pretty much one of these all rough in a rough draft form, I guess I could say. I still want to adjust a couple angles. Now this factory intake has a flex pipe, but I might still adjust this angle just a tiny bit, just so it likes how it fits better. I am gonna have to squeeze these. I'm gonna close the hood, and this is where it starts touching. So we can get the hood to pretty much close almost. We're just missing maybe like an inch of clearance, which I think I can squeeze the pipe just enough to make it happen. I like how the filter is sitting, so I can do this on both sides, and then we'll start welding this thing up. So at this stage of the build, we've got the intakes all taped up. We've got the filters more or less where we want them. We just got to play with the heights a little bit. And I like how this is looking so far. My only concern right now is the hood clearance. I'll show you guys. We've got about an inch and a quarter that we need to clear in order to close this hood properly. So in order to do that, I'm gonna weld these pipes out, and then I'm gonna squeeze them after in the press just to get that clearance, because I think we can squeeze them to do it. Now the customer gave me the go ahead to cut the hood if we absolutely have to, but I'm gonna try and stay away from that as much as I can and try to see if I can get it by just squeezing the pipes. So at this stage, I'm ready to start pulling these off now and start welding them up. At this point, we've got them all tacked up. So what I'm gonna start doing now is give them one final wipe down, clean everything off, and start setting up the weld positioner to get these welded out. So now our intakes are all welded up. Our next step is to put them back in the car, start squeezing them so we can get the hood to close. Then after that, we gotta weld on some mass airflow sensors, and then from there is when the fun really starts. So let's go ahead and get these back on the car and start squeezing them and see how we can make these fit. So I got these on here. I'm gonna mark more or less where I wanna start squeezing and then work my way from there. So I wanna squeeze this pipe right about here. And I'll mark the same thing on this one. And then let's try squeezing this thing. So we've got our brackets made up front and we got the pipes polished up. So the last few steps now are to deal with the mass airflow sensors, which I'm working on them right now, and then do the anodizing. I think before installing the mass airflow sensors, I'm gonna go ahead and anodize it. It's gonna be a little bit easier. Plus I wanna see the result and we can go from there. Pipes are nice and sturdy. They're not gonna go nowhere. Hood closes just fine. So let's make this magic happen. So we got the intakes here on the table. We're gonna start putting on the stencils and start getting ready to give this thing some color and make it come alive. So at this stage now, we've got our pipes taped up. They're all polished. All brackets are welded on. The last things we've got to weld on are the mass airflow sensors, but I decided to go ahead and give these pipes some color before I do that, just because it's going to be a little bit easier with the stencils that I have put on here already. I went ahead and got the other one stenciled up. I didn't get any video of that because it's the same thing as what I did with the first one. So now we're going to go ahead and start giving these some color. Now, the way I plan on doing that is by anodizing. I've already got my setup ready. I also did some practice pieces. So I did this piece just to give you guys some context. You can kind of see the colors I was giving it, playing around with the different voltages, just to see what I can make it happen. So I'm gonna go ahead and start coloring these and give it a go. We got the first one all coated up. We got it anodized. And before we give you guys some cinematic views, we're gonna go ahead and get the other one colored. moment we've all been waiting for, the final reveal of the anodized pipes. Let's get a better look at these because we need the videos to do this some justice.